All right, welcome back to the SSL Family Dad channel, where today we are going to do another viewer comments video for the first of 2020. We're going to address some of the most common and frequent questions and comments from viewers across the last couple months worth of videos. So let's dig in and see what you've had to say on the SSL Family Dad channel. Nathan Gambino says, brilliant tip with heating the hose ends to get them over the fittings. I can't believe I've never seen that before. This was on the video where we added some hydrants, some yard hydrants, some water lines and things like that, dug some trenches and hooked up some irrigation tubing and things. And one of the tricks that I have found, especially out here, I do a lot of work when it's colder weather. When you're dealing with that rigid PEX piping or irrigation tubing or anything like that, and you've got to get those barbed fittings into them, I usually use a torch or a lighter or something like that. Just warm it up a little bit. You could use a hairdryer or a heat gun too. Warm those that tubing up, and those fittings slide right in, and you get the hose clamp on there or the PEX clamp on there. And as the pipe cools down, it actually creates a really good seal on those fittings. So I found that to be a pretty handy little tip, and it's worked really well, especially in cold weather. Jake S says, hey, seems like you're hopping around on that leg just fine. Must not have been any lasting effects from the pig attack. It has been about 9 months now, and everything has healed up pretty well. I don't really have any lasting effects from it. My leg has complete function, and other than a scar and a little bit of pain from that now and then, it's doing pretty good. So praise God for that. Greg Stenzowski says, cool Hercules hat. I live near the Lockheed plant where they are manufactured. So many times you will see me wearing a C-130 Hercules Air Force hat. It's a hat that has the C-130 airplane on the front of it. And this was actually given to me by my dad, who was in the Air Force many years ago and flew on C-130s. And more recently, I was in the Army and went through airborne training with the Army and jumped out of those very same planes. Hopefully not the same exact plane, because it would be pretty old by that point. But the C-130s are still in operation and still used today, and they've been used for many, many years. They're a great airplane, a great military asset used by the United States, and pretty fun to jump out of as well. So thanks for noticing the hat, Greg. Jason Hesselbacher says, I'm curious to see your dollar store seeds do, how they do. I bought them several times and didn't have much luck. So many times I'll buy really cheap seeds. A lot of times the dollar stores around here, we have a couple Dollar Generals, and they'll have the 75 or 90% off seed racks sometimes late into the season, usually around December timeframe. They're trying to get rid of all last year's seeds. And so, they're a nickel a piece, 10 cents a piece or something like that. And so a lot of times I'll buy up a couple handfuls of those dollar store seeds. I don't really have great luck with them. In fact, I tried starting some seeds just a few weeks ago and none of them grew. So yeah, they're cheap. Dollar store seeds are nice, but we buy all of our seeds for a garden and all that stuff from M.I. Gardener. And of course, there's always a link in the description. We partner with him, and I promote his seed store all the time. He has great seeds, and the germination rates on his stuff is quite a bit better than the dollar store seeds. So I always recommend them. Mark Thompson says, use the front loader to lift the front up and skid it back. It works 9 out of 10 times. So I got my tractor stuck earlier this year when I was out. I was going to level out some things in the pasture, some drainage ditching that I dug, and I sunk that tractor in. That front wheel just sunk right in the ground, and that's on the old 1969 Ford 4000. It has a front loader on it, but the thing is with that tractor is it has zero downward pressure on that front loader. I cannot lift the front of that tractor up. I have zero pressure. So when I put that bucket down on the ground and keep pressing that lever, nothing happens. It doesn't take any weight off the front tire. So unfortunately, I can't really use the loader to get myself out of those kinds of situations like you could with a backhoe or a front loader, more of a heavy equipment. But I can use the bucket and stick it in the ground and kind of tilt it forward and work my way out sometimes that way. But that's about it with that tractor. Raymond Emerald says, don't you have a bagger for your lawnmower? I just mow my lawn for the last time and bag it all. And this was on the leaf mulch hack that I did on our old tractor. I put a board out over the ejection port of the lawnmower deck and blocked it off, drilled some holes for air, and kind of turned it into a quasi mulching mower, which actually worked pretty good. But what he's saying is, why don't you just bag your stuff up? Just mow it over with a bagger and then take that stuff away. And I'll tell you why I don't do that and I don't promote that. It's kind of a pet peeve of mine. People, all over this country and probably all over the world, they manicure their lawns, they cut them, they make them all real nice, and they bag up all those grass clippings and they take them out to the road and they send them off somewhere, or maybe even put them in a compost pile. And then you've got to go and buy a bunch of fertilizers and other things to dump on the grass because you've taken all the nutrients away all year round, and then you have nothing left in your lawn. So the idea is to leave the grass clippings and leave the leaves in the yard. We want to mulch those up and let those decompose, let all the little critters and things like that break that stuff down and provide food for the lawn, which then helps it to grow, which then in turn you don't really need any fertilizers for. So that's the theory here anyway, and so I don't bag and take anything off of the lawn. Andrew Sarles says that wiring is very disturbing that someone would call that good enough. I take it that house was never home inspected by the bank. When we bought this house, so this was a comment I did on the video where I kind of showed what I found in the attic. We moved in here, all the wiring that's taped together, and it's a pretty big mess up there. This home was not inspected when we purchased it. We purchased this home as is. It was a good deal, and we were looking at a lot of old farmhouses that need fixing up and other things, and when we found this home, we were able to purchase it without any inspections or anything like that. Whatever problems exist, we're going to tackle them and fix them. And so it's on me now to, over the years, get those things taken care of and fixed and upgraded and improve the home that we live in. Cheapskate says, you remind me of a young father checking in on his sleeping newborn. Well, it's kind of funny. My wife says the same thing to me. When I come out here and work on this little greenhouse over the winter time, we've got this heated raised bed here. We're keeping this stuff growing all winter long here in Michigan. And I come out and check on this thing often, make sure everything's warm, and sometimes I put blankets over the top here. So I guess I kind of am like a vegetable father of some sort, checking on his newborn baby plants. And it's pretty ridiculous, but we got to do what we got to do. Dale Grachowski says, dumb as a box of rocks, never done drywall too long. Thanks, Dale. That was nice. Dillon MacDonald says, I heard another YouTuber recommend using cayenne pepper in the chicken's water during winter months to promote egg laying. So I'm not sure if this is if there's any truth to this or not, but the idea is many people have commented that you put cayenne pepper in the chicken's water or their food. They eat this cayenne pepper or hot sauce or something like that, and it warms them, which then spurs them to lay eggs. Generally, I have found personally here that the chickens, it's not really the warmth, it's not really the heat that causes them to lay eggs in the wintertime, it's the amount of daylight they get. So the chickens' laying cycles are tied to the daylight. Just like with plants, they're affected by the length of the days also. When the days get shorter and there's less sunlight, the chickens naturally stop laying eggs because they're preparing for the coming winter. They don't want to lay eggs and raise young when it's very cold outside, and so that's how, you know, they're designed to know when winter is coming and to stop laying or slow down laying eggs. What I have found is putting a light in your coop and extending the daylight hours, no heat at all provided, but just adding a little extra light will get them to lay again, and they'll lay pretty regularly every day. So it's not really about the heat, it's more about the light. And so I'm not sure if the whole cayenne pepper thing would actually work or not, but let me know if you've tried it and it works, and maybe I'll give it a try here sometime. Rudis says, okay, I'm shocked. Do you realize that you can actually torture that fish in such a small space? This was on the mini aquaponics build I did, and man, did I hear it from the fish animal caring folks out there. God bless you for that. But I had put a larger goldfish in that tank out of our other goldfish tank that we have, my kids have, just to demonstrate the mini aquaponics system. I do realize that is too small of a tank for that size fish, and I actually will be getting some little neons or something to put in that mini aquaponics system so that the fish will have ample space to roam freely and enjoy their little fishy lives. Matt Brock says, would it be possible to do this without making videos? I want this lifestyle so bad, but I don't see how I could financially make it possible. So I did a video a few months ago about how we make money, how we make a living here on the farm. The farm income does not support us 100%, and so we do have other sources of income. I do side work. I talked about doing side work in my field, which is technology, computer repair, networking, and things like that. We also have this YouTube channel, which raises some money for us. We have we work with Amazon as affiliates and do other things, websites and other things that we do that help to earn supplemental income. the YouTube channel and all those extra things we do, that is a full-time job. That takes away from me doing the things I need to do here on the farm, and I have to do that extra work. Everything takes me twice as long to accomplish, and between video editing and camera equipment and taking time to shoot things and move cameras and using microphones and reshooting things and all that stuff, it's a full-time job. And so I would equate the whole YouTube thing to having an outside job on the farm. And that is something that you're going to need to do for the first probably 5 years of you setting up and operating a small farm or hobby homestead. If you want to make a living off of the land, you need to set up systems, invest a whole lot of money. You're going to need some kind of outside source of income to do that. Take that, Dale. Dumb as a box of rocks. John Henderson says, I hope the EPA isn't watching. They'll come after you for draining a wetland. So nothing to see here, EPA. Go bother someone else. Man, did I hear it from so many people about, I did a video on trenching through and doing some drainage here in a pasture that we have. So I want to say a couple things about that. Number one, this is not a wetland. This is a drainage from our home. Our sump pump runs all the time, and throughout the fall, spring, and early summer, it is constantly pumping water out of from around our home, and that drains as well as our gutters and melting snow and things like that. It all drains into a pipe that goes out to a pasture, and it dumps there. And over the wintertime when the ground is frozen, it basically just floods this entire pasture, and now that water has nowhere to go. So what I did was extended that drain out to the county drain. I actually worked with the county, got permission from them to do that. It's not a wetland. I wasn't draining anything that is a permanent wet space or anything like that. This is just for part of the year when that drainage and the ground is frozen, has nowhere to go. It makes a mess in our pastures for our animals. And so I want to get that water out of there. So I got emails from people warning me about the EPA and all these things. So hopefully that clears up the deal with the drainage. But we're not destroying any wetlands or nature preserves or killing any frog habitats or anything like that here. Joe says, you say cherry? You ought to be making a set of cabinets with that. Well, Joe, this was the most popular comment that I got whenever I have worked with this cherry tree that I cut down. A good friend of mine, Darren, had me come over. We worked together to cut this cherry tree down, and we actually cut it into logs because we were going to look around at getting it milled for lumber. But the bottom line, it came down to this: the amount of labor and finding people to cut it up and hauling it around and all that kind of stuff to sell it for some extra money. I don't really need cabinets. What I really needed was firewood, and so that's what we used it for. There's lots of cherry trees around here. If we want to make cabinets, I'll go cut one down for that purpose, but in this case it ended up being more economical for me when my time and labor is involved to use that as firewood. That's what I was really after. All you cabinet makers out there, I'm sorry, but hey, if you want to buy a cherry tree, come let me know. We'll go cut some down, and I'll sell them to you for sure. And Daniel Taylor says, this is not the SSL Family Dad we know. This one's pants doesn't have holes in them. Well, Dan, I finally got some new pants that don't have holes in them, but I'm sure it won't be long before those new pants become old pants and have holes in them. Anybody want some comments? So hopefully you enjoyed another SSL Family Dad viewer comments video. If your comment didn't get featured, well, maybe it will next time. I try to do a few of these videos a year at least. I always love to hear from you guys, so keep those comments coming, and you never know when you might be featured on a SSL Family Dad viewer comments video. So keep them coming, guys. Don't forget to hit thumbs up, and of course subscribe if this is your first time here. We'd love to have you follow along. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good one.